In a world where refrigerators and freezers are powered by electricity, the Amish community does well using ways that were around long before electricity. They have perfected ways of storing food that have been passed down for many centuries. The Amish show how creativity and tradition can work well together, with lively kitchens filled with family voices and well-organized cupboards full of food that has been kept fresh. It sounds like something from a history video or a wilderness survival show to keep food fresh without refrigeration. But for Amish families, it's just another day at work. And what is their most famous technique? Traditional canning in a water bath. Canning in a water bath. Imagine shelves that are full of glass jars that hold garden veggies, stone fruits, and cucumbers. That's how water bath canning works. The situation seems simple at first glance. After putting food in jars and heating them all the way through, you're done. But trust me, you need to really learn how to do this and practice. My own attempt to can peaches caused chaos in the kitchen, jar lids that wouldn't open, and a sobering lesson about my ability to survive. The Amish society, on the other hand, does this perfectly. They carefully clean and prepare containers, fill them with food or preserves, and then put the whole thing into big pots of rolling, hot water as if they were going on an underwater adventure. The intense heat gets rid of germs and fungus spores that would make everything bad otherwise. Once they're properly sealed, these jars can stay on the shelf for a long time without any problems. It's almost time for your crop to freeze. The veggies you eat now came from gardens that were planted many years ago. Some foods that have been kept stay good for more than 5 years as long as the seal stays on. To be honest, the hardest part isn't cooking or keeping an eye on the time. It helps you resist the urge to open jars too soon and try everything right away. When I asked my grandma about the right way to can food, she looked at me like I had admitted I didn't know how to breathe. It seems that if you don't know the difference between hot and cold pack methods, you are totally clueless in her eyes. The Amish work at this skill with great care and attention to detail. When crops run out or bad weather comes, those preserved jars become their emergency supplies. They don't make frantic shopping runs when it's cold outside. They just get out the home-preserved potatoes and start making food. The taste profile is what really counts. Foods that are properly canned keep their flavor, unlike frozen food that often gets sadly mushy after being stored. There's something very nostalgic about Amish-style pickles that keep their satisfying crunch, or peaches that have been kept and taste like summer even when it's snowing in February. All of this was done with no cooling at all. When you think about it, that longevity is what makes this method so famous. There are no monthly electric bills, power outages that could destroy your food, and hard-to-understand computer controls to set. Just pots, hot water, and the knowledge that has been passed down through families. Of course, nothing works perfectly all the time. Anyone who has had trouble opening a jar lid that is too tight knows exactly what I mean. Last season, I stored homemade salsa in cases that were so tightly sealed that it took 2 people and special tools to open them. My friend joked that they should sell it as security-enhanced salsa and charge more for it. That's the truth about preserving things in water. It takes just as much patience as it does technical know-how. If the timing is off, the seals will not work at all. And think that turning the caps tighter helps? Well, get ready to be angry. At the very least, Amish families don't complain about when market food goes bad. If they keep it in their cupboard, it's ready to eat. Store ash. What does wood ash do when a fire is out? Amish homes don't throw it away. They put food in it to keep it fresh. It might sound like a mistake that eggs can be stored in ash, but it's actually a scientific method. People learned hundreds of years ago, before refrigerators, that clean, dry piles of ash could keep food fresh and keep pests away. The idea is smart and based in science. Ashes have alkaline chemicals that make it impossible for bacteria to live. If there is no bacterial growth, there is no decay. Really quite easy. You need to see the conflict. When most people see ash, they think of sticky stuff. The Amish see useful things to store. Eggs are nestled inside pots filled with ash. Each one was carefully placed like a valuable treasure that would be found months later. In addition to eggs, root vegetables like carrots and beets are treated the same way. It's like giving them safe insulation so they can last for a long time without sprouting or breaking down. Patience is needed to succeed. And trust me, Amish families have a lot of patience. If you bury food too early or use damp ash, bad things could happen. My first try to store eggs was more like awkward lab work than food preservation. It was too much ash that I used. Buried those eggs like they were safe from cosmic hits. After 4 weeks, I had to dig up half of the ash pile on my kitchen floor to find them. Important lesson? The right balance is very important. Not every kind of ash works well. It must come from wood sources that are clean and don't use chemicals. No fireplace leftovers from artificially scented logs meet the requirements. The Amish know this naturally because they have learned how to do things in a simple way. It's about as smart as watching someone make perfect pastries without measuring tools. Ash has been useful for thousands of years. It was used by the Romans to keep things in good shape, and it still helps families who like to do things the old-fashioned way. It makes you wonder why this method hasn't been used by more people. We keep fire pits in our yards, but we don't store eggs in them. Instead, we roast marshmallows and burn old papers. There's nothing wrong with campfire treats, but Amish people turned their leftover ashes into the best way to store food. When we talk about historical ways, wouldn't it be great if we could keep other things from breaking down by putting them in ash? Maybe our joints are getting old. Ashes would be great for putting under my knees to stop them from making noise when I stand. Unfortunately, this magic only works for eggs and veggies. This is nature's way of telling us that while we can save food, we need to do different things for our own health, like stretching. Once you understand this method for keeping ash fresh, you'll understand why it has been used for generations. Cost-effective, reliable, and adds to the fun by making guests very confused when they find bins of ash-buried eggs. When you tell them how it works, they might not believe you. But finally, when the eggs they bought at the store go bad, they'll ask you for your preserved eggs. Doesn't that happen all the time? Putting on fat. Think of butter as more than just a breakfast food. It's a powerhouse for protection. While we're having trouble with storage containers that leak, Amish families figured out how to use processed fat to perfectly store food. Melted lard or tallow form smooth, oxygen-blocking rings around cooked meat that keep bacteria from getting into it. Basically, it's nature's way of storing things, but the lids are always missing. This works for different kinds of meat. Bacon, sausages, and even birds have been in fat baths for months and still taste as fresh as if they were just cooked. I'll be honest, the first time I tried to lard seal a roast, it felt like I was watching a show about surviving in the wilderness. 2 months later, when that container was opened, the meat inside was so soft it looked like it had been properly cared for. My family was less excited, though. "Are we really going to eat this?" they asked with doubt and worry in their voices. I confirmed that it was completely safe, but I still didn't believe their conviction. Fat sealing works because getting rid of oxygen keeps food from going bad. Without air, bacteria can't get the nutrients they need to grow. If you store food properly, it can be eaten for months or even longer. This method goes beyond just staying alive. It makes the flavor much better. The fat keeps the food moist, so it tastes the same or even better after a while. Think of it as extended marinating with extra benefits. No worries about going bad at any point. This is an interesting fact. This method, which the French call confit, has been used to preserve duck legs for hundreds of years. If French chefs say it's good, then everyone can trust it. The best part? It needs no specialized equipment, only containers, fat, and time. But make sure your fat is well strained, or you might find bits of crispy food floating in it. Unless you like meals that are a surprise. Speaking from experience, nothing matches the surprise of biting expected tender meat only to meet a hidden bacon piece within. Making alcohol. Fermentation isn't just a new way to make healthy food. It's something that Amish villages have done for a long time, long before probiotic drinks became popular as health drinks. The elegance of fermented foods comes in their simplicity. If you let nature take its course, you'll end up with veggies that last for a long time and might even survive picky eaters. Sauerkraut, Pickles and beets change through processes where beneficial bacteria consume sugars, converting food into tangy, durable staples. If you think fermentation means tossing cabbage into containers and hope for success, reconsider. It's an exact balance. Excessive time, and your sauerkraut might develop smells that evacuate rooms. Not enough time means that the cabbage floats in water and is soggy, which isn't much better than a wilting salad. Balance is key to success, giving good germs a chance to take over before harmful ones show up. When I made my own sauerkraut, I was happy to say that I was channeling my inner pioneer. The smell was what caught my attention. Imagine opening a few containers and finding that your kitchen looks a lot like an old gym, except that the gyms might be fermenting something tasty. I didn't give up, though. When I opened it again a few weeks later, I found that some of the crunchiest, tastiest kraut I'd ever tasted was hiding beneath the strange smells. My cat, on the other hand, stayed out of the kitchen for days. Fermentation is interesting because of the science behind it. No electricity, no complicated machines, just natural processes that have been around since the beginning of society. Archaeological evidence shows that people soured food about 9,000 years ago. That means that our ancestors probably ate fermented foods while they were building huge buildings. It still works for Amish villages now that it did back then. Fermented foods also keep giving you benefits over time. It can be stored for years, and the taste keeps getting better. It's like food that gets better with age. You like the taste of the first batch? It will be even better in 6 months. Useful tip: write names on your packages. I forgot the difference between sauerkraut and pickled beets one time. When you expect one and taste the other, it's quite a treat. Fermentation does more than just keep food fresh longer. In a physical and figurative sense, it's about culture. You're not just putting food away, you're keeping history alive and recording tastes that will last forever. This is something that Amish families have done for generations, passing down skills like making quilts and recipes. There was no internet or fridges. There were only containers, salt, and a lot of waiting. It's also good for you nutritionally. It's like magic in the kitchen. You can still get probiotics that are better than expensive health store brands, even if they don't have any chemicals or fillers. And for people who grew up hearing, "Eat your vegetables," Amish families found the best way to make them want to eat them. Let them ferment. Getting dry. Those jerky bags you can find at gas stations? Most likely, Amish families think of them as hobby work. They dry food for more reasons than just taking snacks with them. It's a matter of life. People used sunlight and wood ovens to dry out fruits, veggies, and meats long before electric dehydrators came along. Less moisture means less chance for mold or germs to grow, which means food can be eaten for years or even decades if it is stored properly. Try sun-dried apples that are more than 10 years old. They're still amazingly tasty, though a bit dry, like grandfather's jokes. When I visited an Amish home, the walls were full of containers of dried apples, pears, and venison strips that looked like they could last forever. The father said that when you have 7 kids, you learn how to make food last, or else the kids and food disappear quickly. I can say for sure that those kids move quickly around food. The fact that dried things can last 20 years is really amazing. Imagine finding dried tomatoes that you forgot about deep in the cupboards. They're older than your teenager, but are still good to eat. The goal isn't just to stay alive. It is easier to store and carry less food when it is dried. This is why farmers, travelers, and finally astronauts needed dried apples, apricots, and beef strips. No, really. Old ways of drying things were used by space agencies when they planned meals for space travel. I once tried to live like a pioneer by drying apple slices on wooden trays in the sun at home. When I came back after a while, the tray was empty and my neighbor's dog looked happy. I learned my lesson. Families in the Amish know how to dry food and keep it safe. The key is to find the right mix. If there is too much moisture left over, mold will grow faster than your family can hear that you won the lottery. If your food is too dry, it turns into a weapon. Have you ever tried eating jerky that is really hard? In case of an emergency, jerky could be used to build things. Amish families have also gotten very good at using wood-fired ovens to dry meat. In addition to being useful, it looks great. Going into rooms where meat is drying makes you feel like you're in a fancy diner where survival is the menu. Do you know this interesting fact? Dried meat wasn't only used in situations. Back then, it was also eaten as a snack, something to chew on while working in the fields or building houses. You don't need energy drinks when you have dried deer meat to keep you going. Root cellar. You might be missing something if your idea of treasure includes gold coins. Proper root cellars full of potatoes, apples, and carrots are more valuable to Amish families than any hidden treasure. Root cellars are like nature's freezers, but they don't buzz or have the risk of losing power. These rooms are built underground and keep everything cool, dark, and just the right amount of wet to make sure that food lasts through the harsh winters. Have you ever thought about why root veggies don't care how long they stay fresh? That's because they do well in these caves, where the temperature doesn't change much no matter what the weather is like outside. Root caves keep the humidity level steady, and cool air keeps food from going bad, like strict guards walking around the shelves. My first visit was like being thrown into a farmer's magical world. There were potato bins on the walls and rows of apples that looked like small gems and were ready to be picked. This old way of storing things has been around for over 2,000 years. For example, the Romans stored food in pits that were dug into the ground. But I think that historical leaders would have traded awards for those crisp carrots that Amish families keep in the freezer. An interesting fact is that apples that have been kept in root cellars for a while taste better after a while. They soften just enough with tastes that smooth out like good wine, but they don't give you headaches the next morning. For me, going into a root cellar is a bit like going into an old library, but without the books and with a lot more turnips. It's strangely satisfying to know that all of this food will last for a long time without using a single unit of power. Plus, it's good for you. Trust me, carrying apple buckets up and down cellar stairs will make you think twice about how bad shopping bags are. I offered to help a friend load up their cellar for the winter because I thought it would only take a couple of hours. By the end, I had carried so many pumpkins that I could feel my arms fighting for workers' rights. Even better is how Amish families use their root caves as gathering places for everyone. People come to trade goods and give each other advice. Sometimes they laugh about how old onions in the corners still look better on Monday mornings than most of us. A wise man said, "The secret to happiness is keeping your root vegetables well stocked and your neighbors guessing how you do it." Salt isn't just for putting on fried fries. It is a hero of preservation that has fought against spoilage for hundreds of years. In the past, whole economies were based on salt. They even gave it to Roman troops as payment. That's why Amish villages still use this old method. When you add enough salt to something, you're not just making it taste better. You're going to war with germs. The Amish salt everything, from meat to fish, by putting layers of food inside buckets full of coarse salt until the food looks like snowdrifts. Moisture is bad, and salt doesn't just get rid of it. It shuts the door behind it. Bacteria can't grow without water, so the food not only stays fresh, but can also pretty much move through time. Some pickled fish has been around for a very long time. Yes, that's right. This method has been around longer than refrigerators and is probably more durable than my New Year's goals. I thought it wouldn't be hard when I tried to salt a ham one time. Hint, it's harder than advanced math. First, salt got stuck between hairs, under nails, and even into shoes. Then I forgot how heavy a fully salted ham would be. Ever tried to lift a piece of pork that was brined and slippery? It's like carrying a child who throws fits. But hey, the ham tasted great and lasted a long time. The only bad thing is that I might still find salt crystals in the kitchen today. Don't eat salt-cured food if you're scared. It takes a long time and a lot of salt. But if you do it right, the meat will taste like it did when it was first smoked, even years later. Pickled. Pickles can be used for more than just sandwiches. They're experts at storing food. Amish people know how to use vinegar to keep food edible for a long time after it's no longer fresh. It's really great. What starts out as simple cucumbers ends up lasting longer than the bread it was meant to go with. That's how vinegar works. Bacteria can't get to foods that are submerged in this acidic solution, like those secret spies who always get away from danger. Aside from cucumbers, Amish families pickle everything, like eggs, tomatoes, and even onions. What did you know that vinegar could do two things? Salad dressing during the day, food preservation master at night. We've been pickling for a long time. Some historians say that the Mesopotamians did it a long time before states were made, but Amish people have made it better. Amazing fact, vinegar pickle jars that haven't been opened can stay good for more than 5 years. That's how long something lasts that makes current expiration dates seem silly. I learned a hard lesson the first time I tried to make pickles at home. If you mess up the amount of vinegar to salt, you could end up with food that can remove paint or pickles that are as soft as old gum. My family bravely tried the first batch, but since then they've been polite and avoided my pickling project. The way the creamy whites float in pickled egg jars waiting for their turn makes me feel strangely romantic. They're like old friends in the food world. They're always there for you, don't change, and are stable. A strange thought comes to mind. If I were a cucumber, I'd also want to be pickled. No one would not want to be forever in a jar. These simple ideas make high-tech gadgets seem like they're not really needed. But just when you think you've seen everything, the Amish pull off another old trick. Tobacco. You might think of backyard grills or holiday feasts when you think of smoked foods, but for Amish families, it's a smart way to keep food still tasty for longer. Aside from being a tasty treat, smoking food has been used for thousands of years to keep food fresh. When smoke moves around food, it makes layers of protection that help keep bacteria away. This is useful for Amish pantries. The process starts with carefully chosen cuts of meat or fish. They are hung in smokehouses to dry out and pick up the tastes of the smoke. Chemicals in smoke stop germs from growing, which means that smoked foods last a lot longer. Smoked foods can actually last up to 2 years if they're made right. That's the same as having delicious treats ready for your next family get-together or unexpected guests. Some people may wonder what else Amish families smoke besides hams and sausages. Yes, they smoke cheeses and fish too. Imagine getting smoked cheddar chunks out of the pantry. They'd be tasty and ready to amaze. Interesting fact, burning food art has been around for a long time. It has been around for a very long time. People in early civilizations learned that smoking foods made them taste better and kept them fresh longer. You really did win twice. I remember the first time I tried to smoke chicken wings. Everything was so exciting for me. Smoke rising, meat cooking, the whole shebang. But when I finally bit into that wing, I saw that I had used too many spices. I just wanted to enjoy dinner, but my taste buds were having a spicy war. When you smoke, it can be an art, but it's important to keep your taste profile in check. It's easy to see why this method has become so important to the Amish for preserving food. Every bite tastes great after being smoked, a skill in cooking that has been passed down from generation to generation, keeping their tables full of flavor and history. Herbs. Herbs do more than just make mashed potatoes taste better. In addition, they can help your food stay fresh longer. When you think of dried herbs, you might remember the spice racks your grandma used, but in Amish kitchens, these green things are more like secret tools for staying alive. Some herbs, like rosemary and thyme, naturally kill germs, which makes them great for keeping food fresh. Amish families don't put tasty greens in the fridge where they go bad. Instead, they dry them out and hang them from the ceilings of their kitchens, where they wait calmly to add flavor to soups, stews, and other dishes. You might be shocked to learn that thyme has been around for a very long time. The Egyptians used it to keep mummies fresh. Yes, mummies. You can feel good about putting thyme on beef stew because it has been keeping food fresh for a very long time. That's like having protection in your spice cabinet who are chefs. These dried leaves are used for 2 different things by the Amish. They make food taste better and keep it fresh longer. Imagine stews cooking on stoves in the winter that are full of veggies from last summer's harvest and herbs that were dried months ago. When the weather outside is bad, that's the kind of hearty food that keeps you going. I tried to dry oregano from my yard as part of one of my kitchen adventures. I was ready because I thought I had enough to season food for months. My cat had other ideas, though. He was sneaking off with leaves from my oregano every time I turned around. He liked it like catnip. It was a mistake to hang it so low. I should have put up a cat guard or something. The Amish way of handling dried herbs is not only useful, but it also shows how much they value nature and all it has to offer. They make sure that nothing goes to waste by making the most of what they have. The thyme bundle hanging from the kitchen ceilings is more than just spice. It's a sign of how clever and creative they are, which are important qualities in their daily lives. Most people buy fresh plants at stores, but they go bad faster than you can say dinner is served. Amish families, on the other hand, know how to keep food fresh for a long time. They make herbs into strong kitchen items that not only make food taste better, but also keep it safe. The Amish use things like that trusty pickle jar and dried herbs to get by when they don't have freezers. This shows that innovation comes in many forms and is often paired with humor and history. Most people would freak out when their fridge breaks, but Amish families just shrug and laugh. They have been successful for generations because of how they store their food. This shows that you don't need modern tools if you have creativity, tradition, and a pinch of salt. Think back to the time you opened your own pickle jars and enjoyed the crunch and tang. It's really unlike anything else. To show off to my friends, I once made my own pickle batch. Well, let's just say they were a little too risky and needed strong guts. But hey, that's the journey, right? It's fun to learn from our mistakes when we're preserving our homes. While we're at it, wouldn't it be great if we could store memories the way Amish people store squash? Think about those times when you got together with your family and laughed, shared recipes, and had fun cooking together. That's something we could all use more of.